What's going on, YouTube? My name is Rashad, but you can call me Ray, and today we're going to talk politics. Freeze! We're not going to talk politics exactly. We're going to talk political ideology and try and cut through some of the nonsense and see what it is we really vote for. So if you're still with me, welcome to the first episode of Dread Politics. Now I know there's lots of makeup tutorials and animal fights on YouTube, even rats carrying pizza, so I really appreciate it. With our local national elections recently concluded, Beefcake Justin Trudeau taking office in Canada, sorry, I had to make some room in there. And Hillary Clinton on course to be the first female leader of the free world. I thought that now was as good a time as any to spread some sound political theory, spread constructive debate, and most importantly, inform you, the voters. In the past few months in Trinidad and Tobago, we've seen racial tensions arise from our local national elections. Now we have a saying that we adopted from a David Rudder song that most people are familiar with: how we vote is not how we party. Or in other words, we party as a democracy. Now, most people are aware that in most countries around the world, there's a two-party voting system. But we might wonder, how did they choose when it was between two old white men? Yeah, me either. I know. Well, although identity politics, voting based on race, ethnicity, or gender, is not a recent phenomenon, the responsible voter bases their choices on more, let's say, objective, personal philosophies. And in this video, we'll explore a couple of those. Now, most people have heard of the terms right and left wing, but what do those really mean? Well, in Canada, for example, we have the Liberals on the left and the Conservatives on the right. In the USA, we have the Democrats, or Liberals, again on the left, and the Republicans, Conservatives, on the right. In the UK, we have the Labour, Liberals, and Tories, Conservatives, and so on. This has a history that started with the French Revolution, where in the House of Commons, those opposed to monarchy sat on the right, and those that were for it sat to the left. The significance of this was that those who believed in individual rights and freedom from government tyranny were on the right, and those that believed in collective rights and centralized power were on the left. Now this is where it gets kind of boring, so try and stay with me. Pause if you have to, drink some coffee, do a line, freebase some amphetamines, whatever you have to do, because this will be on the test, and the test is who's going to be in charge of your society and economy, so pay attention. The significance of this today is that left-wing political parties tend to be in favor of higher and progressive taxes, in order to focus on collective, marginalized groups: students, women, minorities, the poor, and the sick. They are also in favor of regulating industries and other systems to create desired outcomes, by tariffs, directives, and quotas, etc. They believe that one is not born with natural rights, but rather that rights are granted by the collective. As Obama famously said, "You didn't build that. Somebody helped you along the way." They identify as progressive because they believe in utopian societies where everyone is equal, or at least treated as such. They reject hierarchical systems as oppressive. They are not usually opposed to immigration because they believe that all cultures are equal, and so they celebrate diversity. Right-wing parties, on the other hand, believe in smaller governments, i.e. lower and flat taxes. They also believe that markets, such as corporations, education, and healthcare, become inefficient when taken over by the public sector, and that they are best left to regulate themselves, except in extreme cases. They believe one is born with natural rights that must be protected. They believe in property rights, and they focus primarily on protection of borders and culture, and protection of free trade and individual rights, i.e. police, military, and the legal system. They believe in creating equality of opportunity, but see inequality of outcome as a natural part of life. They are sometimes seen as greedy because they don't believe in the welfare state, but on the contrary, conservatives usually believe in religiously based cultural values and personal responsibility. They fear that through inefficient governments, wealth may be extracted from the productive rich and given to the unproductive and undeserving poor, rather than from the unproductive rich and given to the less fortunate, or productive poor. And as a result, they prefer private charity. Left-wing political theory is based on Marxist critical theory. It holds as a premise that people's hierarchies are oppressive, but that we can live peacefully if there is proper social control, i.e. social justice. They believe employers exploit their workers wherever possible, capitalists rip off customers, and that people will manipulate others wherever possible, including husbands and wives. They therefore believe in unionization, authoritarian control over society, including surveillance, censorship of dangerous ideas, and abusive language, especially those aimed at marginalized groups. Right-wing political theory is based on capitalism. It holds that people are inherently productive, and through protection of freedom comes growth and stability. They believe that if trade and employment are voluntary, then both parties benefit. Therefore, free trade makes everyone better off. They believe that no policy should be put in place that discriminates against anyone, and they oppose labor unions. They believe that truly free markets produce meritocracy, competition, and market efficiency. Most political parties and candidates around the world have mixed views economically and culturally on the political scale. Not quite right or left, but closer to the center. With many lobbyists constantly pushing for influence and competition to promise more and more free stuff, governments are forced to grow bigger and bigger. What we need to remember is that the government doesn't produce, only redistributes through taxation. This is crucially important when discussing rights. As in the previous example, take healthcare. In a free market, the talented doctor studies and sacrifices and charges a price based on the market and his or her skill, and the patient that is ill pays the doctor for their services and expertise, and based on his or her level of health. When free healthcare is provided, the physician is paid based on government regulations by the general taxpayer, and the patient, who may be unhealthy through their own poor choices, has less incentive to make different choices. A lot of what should be at the forefront of our political discourse, like the economy, education, public safety, most importantly, gets obscured by scandal, identity politics, fear, etc. What I think we can all agree on is that we want to live in a more fair society and be provided a safety net during difficult times. Consider the veil of ignorance theory by John Rawls. No, not that veil. Whew. There we go. And it goes something like this. Consider if you were born again at random as anybody in a society, not knowing your financial situation, your race, your gender, or your family social status. What kind of society would you want to live in? In the caste system of India, for example, you may be born of the landowner's caste, or you may be born of the servant caste. Is that a risk you'd be willing to take? I tried as much as possible not to be biased in this video. Most of my friends know I believe in small governments and individual rights, for reasons I'll discuss in future videos. In fact, I regularly debate with socialists online, but for me it always comes down to debate, never coercion or name-calling or hatred or irrational behavior, and most importantly, I never try to shut them up. Tune in next time where we'll talk about PNM and UNC policies and see where they fall on the political spectrum. Or we can talk some more about rights and justice. What is justice? Some people will say, well, Ray, justice is following the law. Duh. But same-sex relationships are against the law in Trinidad, so whose justice is that? Well, what is it? Is justice the will of the majority? Is it the will of the most powerful and well-connected? Or is it the will of the most weak and helpless? Comment down below and tell me what you thought of my first video. Leave your questions, topics you might want me to address in a future video. And if you thought this was helpful, spread the knowledge. Sharing is caring. Start a debate. Challenge your principles. And if I made any mistakes, let me know. And I'll try to clear them up in a future video. So what do you think? Do societies need more strict social control, or do they need more freedom of individual rights? Consider these next time you make a decision on policy, and you might not make the right choice, but damn it, you'll believe in something. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos, and I'll catch you next time on Dread Politics.